Good evening. You're not expecting me at this time. You're expecting me at 9 o'clock tonight, and I'm just not going to be there. It's Friday. It's January 6th, 2023. I'm John Schenk, your host for the Deerwood Realty live stream. Obviously my name is John Schenk. We just went over that, but I'm the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a small residential brokerage. We're focused mainly on helping buyers buy homes and sellers selling theirs. That's what we do. And then at night, do the Deerwood Realty live stream. Now, usually it's at 9 on weeknights, but tonight it's Friday, and we'll talk about in a minute why I've come in early for the stream. But normally around 9 o'clock, we talk about pop culture, news, real estate news, things like that. It's just good to be out there and putting forth my opinion, learn a little bit more about me. We got a great show tonight, but I'm never going to say we have a crappy show. I don't think anyone should start their show and say, well, it's going to be awful. It's going to be a complete disaster. Now, I've had shows that are an absolute disaster, but this isn't going to be one of them. We've got three pretty interesting articles. One about real estate agents being sued, so you should stick around for that. Because of the supposedly the high amount of sales that happened over the summer, buyers are looking to recoup some of their lost home value in the sense that they bought homes high and now feel that they were ripped off. There's a record number of record share of home sellers giving concessions to buyers. We'll talk about what that means to you, and then why does home buying look different for millennial home buyers than it does others? I don't know that it does. I've always been uncomfortable characterizing people by their, when they were born. But we do. And so I'll just go through that. We got some great stuff on Twitter. Mortgage rates came in pretty good today. And then we'll talk about two things that I thought were kind of interesting. One, we'll talk about McDonald's. Yes, the restaurant, fast food restaurant. And then we'll talk about an odd thing that's on my radar now that really isn't. And we'll talk about how to kind of look at it, or how I look at it. It's Skip Bayless and tweets. But to me, it's more than that. And it's pretty obvious. And so I'll share that with you, and you let me know what you think. Today is Friday. I had a closing on a Friday, which doesn't normally happen. And then not only was a closing, but it was a closing of on a house for a first-time homebuyer couple who I absolutely enjoyed working with over the last year and a half. They've got a great house. They're going to be happy for years. And one of the more unusual things that happened today was I actually got to go over to the house with them and get the keys out of the lockbox for them and hand them to them. Usually I've got the keys way before closing. But this house, it didn't work out that way. Seller was a little uncomfortable. So I went over there and I got to share the moment when I literally took the keys out of the lockbox and I handed the keys to the husband. And I said, they're yours. They're yours. And I said, you probably want to figure out how to open your own door. And so they went up and opened the door and walked through what is their home now. And I couldn't be more happy. Now, look. Our price is going to go down? Probably. Our price is going to go up? Probably. It's all just a question of when. But the key is they've got a nice roof over their head. In fact, the roof was replaced last year. Live in a really, really great neighborhood for them. They've got a garage. It's a great house, and I'm just so happy for them. My business is not always rewarding. There's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of stress, and not just like professional stress, but like stress, like you can think of it this way. Like I just represented a buyer who bought a house. They're not going to buy another house right now. Okay. So they're gone. Like I need to find more buyers or else, my family starves. So it's not a good, feeling. It's quite a bit of stress, but days like today, where you get to see somebody enjoy something and really, like, they listen to me. There's home buyers and home sellers that never listen to me. and then they get upset when something doesn't go right. Their deal is like difficult. It takes a lot more time, like takes a lot more effort, stress. This couple listened to me the whole time. They let me teach them the things that I know that can help them to get a house. And you may laugh, you may say, well, John, it took you a year and a half. Rates are double what they were, and look, you can't take this one away from me. I thoroughly enjoyed today the chance to share a moment where somebody actually gets to be in their own house for the first time is like nothing else. And I'm just thankful for that. And let me say this. I hope everyone out there gets the chance to buy a house that they want, not under stressful circumstances, just like, this is the house they see, they like the house, and then they spend years there and they're happy. It doesn't help my bottom line if you don't buy another house, but it does help me when you like the house you live in. You chose a house that you enjoy. I do care. Maybe that makes me strange as far as real estate agents, but it makes me very happy that I help somebody find a place that they can call their own, that they enjoy. One of the reasons why I got into real estate in the first place is when we bought our house, I didn't like the way it went. There was all this new stuff, and then it was like there were these rituals and performance art only based on in the real estate industry that doesn't exist other places. And I felt like I could do better. I felt like I could help people, find a good place. And I believe that. And as my business grows, I'm constantly reminded about, the reasons why I started in the first place. Obviously, everyone thinks that there's like all this money in real estate, and I can show you my tax records to prove to you that not everybody makes a lot of money because, for many years it's been tough. But, I don't believe by any stretch of the imagination that I've made it. I don't believe that I've turned the corner. I don't believe any of that stuff. I just still enjoy watching people get a home that they like. I really do. It just feels good. So that's what I did this morning. And one of my how do I put it? One of my peers, one of my mentors, I said, or he told me a long time ago that one of his mentors sold a house and then went right back to the office and started making calls. They were like, we can't celebrate now. We have to, find new buyers and new sellers. And he lived that way for a long time. And I told him today, I said, I have to allow myself to enjoy these closings. They don't happen every day. It's real people, making real decisions, and it just feels good. It feels good, and I want to enjoy it for a while. And so today I'll enjoy it. I was driving and I had somebody honk at me for no reason. Well, they had a reason, but I didn't like it. And I was starting to get very, very angry, like physically. It was I was really, really angry, like really getting angry. But again, because of the day and because I helped those people find a home that they're going to enjoy for years, I was angry, but I didn't lose it. It's the small things, right? So anyway, for those of you who watch the show late, like a day or two after I do it, I appreciate that. I just want you to know. And like tonight, when I'm not going to be on at 9, if you watch the show, most of the stuff could almost be couched as it's still relevant content. We still talk about things, news of the day and stuff like that. It's still relevant, a lot of days later. So I did just want to stop for a moment and say thanks for watching the replays. I appreciate it. If you do have any questions or comments, you could put them in the chat or you could put it in the comment section. If you do it after the show, I will answer it when I see it. And if you do it during the show, depending on what the topic is about, I'm happy to stop the show and start talking about it. It's kind of a weird thing. I'm not afraid to talk on the fly about things. It does screw up the show a little bit because there's that time gap where you're trying to get information and people are they're texting or typing. It's like, but I'll do it for a while. Just do that. But let's go on to the second thing I had. Do you think that real estate agents only help buyers and sellers, and that's all? So, how do I couch this? So, do you think that when somebody calls me, a buyer calls me, they say, "I want to buy a house," I show them a house, and that's their job. And then when I sell, when they want to sell, they say, "I want to sell my house," and that's what I do. I help them sell the house. Do you think that's all that goes into it? One of the things that's happened to me as I've gone through the business is I'll get a lot of situations where it's transactional in nature. For instance, I have a fellow right now that's looking to buy a house from a family member. All they're trying to do is figuring out the right price, what it would possibly sell for, and then they want to get the paperwork done and buy the house. That house is never going to get marketed on the MLS. It's never going to be listed. It's just going to be a private transaction. But these are things I do all the time. It's not unusual for me. But a lot of people don't realize that. And I just wanted to share for a moment that, if you, there's a couple instances where you don't think to use a real estate agent. One of those instances is when you're buying a new home. So when you go to a new home community, you think, oh, this nice, wonderful agent is going to sell me a home, and they're going to, price it right, and everything's going to go great. It's not always true. If you do happen to have a real estate agent that you trust, they can really help you on new construction. There has been a fight between new construction and real estate agents in many hotter parts of the country, where builders are, of course, trying to get rid of agents as quickly as they can, so that they can save the money, pocket the money. But an agent can be very, very helpful for buyers. And I want you to, new home buyers, I want you to understand that on new construction, it's not a bad thing to call an agent and go with them. Because that's the other thing is the way they set it up is if I don't accompany my buyer to a house ahead of time, and I don't have an arrangement ahead of time, they just say that I'm not in the deal. It's slimy. I don't like it, but that's how they do it. And by now you kind of know. And then, sorry about that. I don't have much soda left, so this is going to be dicey tonight. And then another situation was one where we were talking about last week where someone is considering buying a new home or staying in their home. They don't know how much money the house is worth. They don't know how much money in repairs they're going to need to make it to where they're comfortable. And so I often will help people even free. I mean, it's not like I don't charge anything, but hey, what do you think I should do in this situation? I'm happy to look at the numbers, happy to help people make a decision. Now, should I charge? Probably on that one. But again, if you're, and in the end of the day, if you're going to use me for services, I don't mind. I don't mind helping out in the beginning, as long as as long as your intentions are true. Like if you're calling me to buy a house and you can't afford it, like you have no mortgage you have no credit, you have no ability to buy it, that's a waste of my time. I don't particularly do that. But if there's some opportunity to do a real estate transaction, I'm all in. I'm all in. So I'm pretty sure most agents are like that. Just so you know, I don't think you should ever feel uncomfortable asking an agent, what they think about X, Y, and Z. I don't know. I just wanted to share that with you today. I just hit the wrong button. But is it possible that you could be ready for the main part of the show? Well, we're going to get it. Let's get to it. Now, I just want to go over it with you quickly. Now, if you've been following the NFL, you saw what, terrible thing happened. I didn't cover that because I just felt there were better places. I can't show the videos. I can't without being, booted off. And I don't follow those teams anymore. I don't follow the NFL after they left St. Louis the second time in my lifetime. I don't have any. I despise the NFL and everything about it. But I also understand that it's a business, and what we'll talk about today, I think, is a kind of an interesting way to look at what happened without really discussing, anything surrounding what happened on the field. And so it's this odd article, and just know that I'm trying to kind of teach myself and kind of learn how to express my thoughts quickly. It's not something that's really natural to me. But I'm trying to get better, if that makes any sense. So let's go to this article. It says Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe feud on air over controversial Damar Hamlin tweet. Okay. So let's just set the table. Skip Bayless sends out a tweet. People don't like it. Sterling Sharpe, is upset, his on-air partner, and so they're feuding. I don't think that the show. First of all, Skip Bayless. This is how old I am. Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe were on ESPN. I didn't even know they were on FS1. I didn't even know that existed. Okay. So that's how old I am. I saw Skip Bayless on Pardon the Interruption, and the things that he would say were so stupid and so dumb that I didn't want anything to do with him. Anytime he would be on, it was Pardon the Interruption, and there was something about some hot take or something. Anytime he would talk, I would just be tired of listening to him. So I never did like Skip Bayless. Apparently there's people that do like him, and he might be a very nice fellow. I don't know, but his job is really to find ways to poke at other people. He's a provocateur. He could do this in politics. He could do this in any number of fields. He's done it in sports. And so then we have Sterling Sharpe, who also I thought was on NFL Primetime on ESPN. Apparently he's moved over to FS1. And the two of them together should have differing opinions on many things. And my understanding, just in the peripheral, is the whole point of the show is to raise controversy, either by talking about and creating controversial events, or having controversial takes between the hosts. That's the whole idea, I would think. So it says New York. This is from CNN. CNN's going to make a big, headlines today. For me, I'm not. It just happened to have, they had the right type of article to go over. So it says, Skip Bayless sent a third straight day defending his controversial tweet about Buffalo Bills safely Damar Hamlin, this time during a tense exchange Wednesday with his Fox Sports talk show co-host Shannon Sharpe. Now look, he's supposed to be this is what you're paying for. If I were to do a show on anything, you would want me to be fighting with someone all the time, because that would cause you to watch it more. Okay. Part of the reason why we don't have that is because I don't want to fight with anybody. It just doesn't. I mean, why would you want to spend an hour of your day arguing with somebody that sat next to you? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It says Sharpe. This is sad. They have to tell you who this person is, and it's kind of obvious who he is. I mean, he was a great tight end. He played for the Denver Broncos. I mean, this is who he was. It says a former player and a member of the NFL Hall of Fame returned to the duo's talk show undefeated Wednesday after missing Tuesday's show. Now, was Tuesday, not going to the show, was that because of Skip Bayless and not getting along? We don't know. It says his absence followed co-host Bayless's widely criticized tweet questioning whether the NFL should have ended the Bills game Monday against the Cincinnati Bengals after Hamlin collapsed on the field. Hamlin went into cardiac arrest for his hit to the chest area. Now, I'm not talking about that. That's for you. But then this is the tweet. It says, during the incident Monday, Bayless tweeted, "No doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game. But how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which suddenly seems irrelevant." Now, it says Bayless later followed up with a tweet saying that the controversy surrounding that tweet was a misunderstanding of his intention. Now, I don't find fault with the tweet itself. Okay. If so, and this is, look, I don't follow any of this stuff anymore, so I don't know. So if it's a timing issue, like he should not have written anything during the time that it occurred, maybe. If he is questioning, if you're reading into it and you're saying he's saying that the NFL should not cancel the game because it's so crucial to the regular season outcome. If you believe that, that's fine. I can see where you'd be upset about that. But then when he writes, which suddenly seems so irrelevant. So what he's saying there, it seems like, is, hey, a fella's either almost dead or, has died. Now, he didn't, but, no one knew at the time. On the field, that is more important than who wins this game. That's what I read it as, okay? Now, here's what I think is happening, though. Skip Bayless has got, he's got a lot of people that he's angered over the years, okay? And while I don't believe that it's this tweet that is the most egregious of all tweets he's ever put out, those people that are after him, they will seize anything. They will use anything they can to get him fired, maybe get him to where he doesn't get data, he doesn't get scoops. He's on the sidelines and not a main player in the sports, opinion category. It says, Bayless later followed up with a tweet saying the controversy surrounding that tweet was a misunderstanding of his intention. I don't know what he means by that. What was his intention? He should have just written what his intention was and clear it up. It says, on Wednesday, the host of Undisputed immediately got into an argument at the beginning of the show. I've never seen any, and I did see a little bit of that. It was uncomfortable. It says, I've never seen anybody have to be revived and fight for their life on the field, Sharp said during his opening monologue. Skip tweeted something, and although I disagreed with the tweet, and hopefully Skip would take it down, but I wanted, and then Bayless immediately interrupted saying, I'm not going to take it down because I stand by what I tweeted. Now, I saw that, and to me, the timing of when the timing was bad for Skip Bayless to say anything because it was during the fellow's monologue, which is not the time to interrupt. That is irritating. That makes sense that people would be upset about that, to me. Because here's this one guy speaking. He's giving his opinion. And then you don't even let him express his opinion before you start defending yourself. Like, let the person speak. And you weren't letting him do that. That's what I saw, okay? Doesn't make it right or anything like that. It says, Bayless immediately interrupted saying, I'm not going to take it down because I stand by what I tweeted. And okay. It says, Sharp then decided not to continue his monologue, visibly upset at Bayless. He said, I cannot even get through a monologue without you interrupting me. That's kind of where I took it. So to me, this is not the issue with Hamlin, okay? This is an issue with a fellow that's annoying. Skip Bayless is annoying. Always has like this was true when he was on ESPN. I don't even know how long ago that was. It said, Sharp tried to bring the conversation back to Hamlin rather than about Bayless, and Bayless said he didn't expect Sharp to address his tweet on the air. The tense conversation lasted for about a minute. On Monday, after his controversial tweet, he followed up saying it was a misunderstanding. Nothing is more important than a young man's health. That was the point of my tweet. I'm sorry if this was misunderstood, but his health is all that matters. See, I don't, that's kind of what I got out of it. Okay. By the way, if you look up at these rates, 30-year fixed 5.75%, it's an absolute joke. Lending Tree is an absolute joke. There's no way you're going in there and getting those rates today. But anyway, Bayless didn't acknowledge the tweet at the beginning of Tuesday's Undisputed, but appeared emotional about the incident. I apologize for what we're going to set out to do here today. If it offends anyone, because we're going to try to do this so pretty much as usual we do the show, I'll admit up front that I'm still shook up about what happened last night to Damar Hamlin. In fact, I'm still wrecked. In fact, I'm not sure I'm capable of doing this show today. Now, see that seems odd. And I mean, like, you have to understand, to me, there's been precedents for deaths in sports. Maybe not for everyone, but okay. So we had Chris Pronger didn't die, thank God. But it was this, I believe it was in the playoffs, in the hockey playoffs against Detroit. I mean, he almost died. It wasn't good. I don't remember if they kept playing the game or what. But that was a different time. It was when the Blues had those horrible uniforms. And then Darryl Kyle with the St. Louis Cardinals died. But he didn't die at the event. He died in his bed. That was tough. I think he was scheduled to pitch that day, which made it even worse. Josh Hancock was a relief pitcher that I believe ran into a parked tow truck and died in a car accident. So there have been instances where people have died, sports figures, at least around St. Louis, like everyone has to continue over time their own way. But it seems to me insincere for this fellow to say he doesn't know if he can do this show. My own personal opinion is that Skip Bayless is on his way out of FS1 because people are picking at him. And the reason why they're picking at him is not necessarily because of his tweet, because it was a decent tweet, but it's because of the way he grinds on people. His opinions over time get irritating. So in one article, they called him a shock jock. It's like, I think he's just a guy that looks to stir stuff. The same way with, was it Michael A. Smith? I don't even know his name. Same thing though. Same idea. All that started over on ESPN a while back. They started to get rid of guys that were really, really qualified. Like, by qualified, I mean they were like newspaper column writers for like 30 years. Like Peter Gammons. You were never going to have Peter Gammons do all these things like these new people. He had style. John Clayton for football, I mean, another guy had style. He wouldn't engage in this stuff. But I mean, it's got to be what people want, right? Because I mean, their ratings must be good enough to afford Skip Bayless. It's just odd. So tell me what you think. Did what you read on his tweets, did you find them to be way over the line? Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like there's a group out to get him because of the things he said in the past, and they may win with this one because it seems like it's a terrible thing that people have placed on him. I don't want to be in the position to defend Skip Bayless. That's not an enviable position. Moving on. McDonald's. I wanted to go over this because it's to me it's timely. So it says McDonald's CEO says layoffs are coming, and it comes out of New York. It's from CNN. It's not very long. It says McDonald's is planning to cut some of its corporate staff. CEO Chris Kempinski, whatever, said in a memo to employees Friday. We'll evaluate roles and staffing levels in parts of the organization. There will be difficult discussions and decisions ahead. Certain initiatives will be deprioritized or stopped altogether. This will help us move faster as an organization while reducing our global costs and freeing up resources to invest in our growth. It says McDonald's has been a star of the pandemic. People ordered more takeout from the company during the early days of COVID, and sales have surged over the past year as inflation sent restaurant goers looking for cheaper options. I don't know about that. It says, but the company says it's not resting on its laurels, the CEO said, outlining a plan to break down internal barriers, grow more innovative, and reduce work that doesn't align with the company's priorities. While there's a lot for us to be proud of, you've also told us that there's more we can do. He wrote to employees, we're performing at a high level, but we can do even better. The company has to become faster, more innovative, and more efficient. He said in an interview with Wall Street Journal on Friday, he says that means the company will announce layoffs. Some jobs that are existing today are either going to get moved or those jobs may go away. McDonald's says it plans to communicate its future staffing plans by April 3rd. The CEO says he expects to save money as part of the staffing changes, but doesn't have a set dollar amount to slash or number of jobs he's looking to cut. It says McDonald's had around 200,000 corporate staff and workers at company-owned restaurants at the end of 2021. According to its latest annual report, more than 75% of them were based outside of the United States. More than 2 million people work at McDonald's franchise locations around the world. Now I feel like I have some insight into this, and so let me put it out there for you. I went to Croatia, you know that. I went to the Balkans, and Croatia has a McDonald's in Zagreb. Okay? I don't know where. All I can tell you is that the teenagers, like aged, I'd say between like the ages of 15 and like 25, so I don't mean teenagers, but young people, would literally carry the bag. Oh, I'm sorry about that. They would carry the bag of McDonald's around so people could see that they had gotten McDonald's. It was a very it's an aspirational purchase there. Totally different experience than the United States, at least as far as I can tell. This was confusing to me because again, I'm used to the current, McDonald's. It's fast food. It is what it is. But I'm going to use this to ask a question, and that is, has McDonald's lost its way? And I ask this question because I love McDonald's. Oh my God. But it seems like it's like a dark, vapid, soulless place. And it didn't used to be that way. I remember they had like Ronald McDonald. They had all the little characters. You used to go to McDonald's and they had like fun houses, playhouses, things for the kids to do. It was like kids were valued. And the food was pretty darn good. Let me just tell you the experience that I had recently. So this one McDonald's, like one of the first McDonald's in St. Louis, recently went under. They had to. The franchise was to like kind of update their building. Like, I don't know if you've seen them, but they'll update the franchise. So they literally tore the other McDonald's down, the old one. And the old one was great. I mean, it had like a fountain drink spot. It didn't have the kiosks. It had, you'd go to the counter and you'd order your food and they'd bring it out to you. But that wasn't always the case. Back in the day, they would just call your name and you'd go take your tray. But it was good, okay? And then they replaced it. By the way, the architecture, it was like comfortable. You could sit there and kind of, it was not bad. And the seats were just like, like rock solid, hard plastic, vinyl. I mean, it was dated and I get it. When you'd enter the door, people would normally say hello even. And the people there were fun. Like, It was a lot of senior citizens having coffee and stuff like that. It was like a social thing. People went out to enjoy themselves. And so they built a new one in its place. They moved it forward on the lot. And I walked in. The first thing that happened when I walked in was I couldn't even tell where the entrance was. I had no idea. There were 2 doors. One of them was locked. I go in the entrance, and then right when you walk in, instead of like, you walk in way at the front of the restaurant. So there's 2 screens where you can order from. And then there's a huge dining room, and then up towards the front, there's another 2 screens you can order from. And then you put in your order and you go sit down, and like, it's just dead. Nothing going on. No excitement, no happiness, nothing. I end up ordering, hot fudge sundae, and of course, as you guys all know, with the ice cream there, that's not always possible. So they came out and they said, look, we don't have that. You want a milkshake or something? So I'll take a milkshake. That's fine. But it was so wild because it's such a soulless, sad experience. They've taken all the joy. I mean, when you're a kid and you're going to get a Happy Meal or something, you're going to get a free toy. I mean, that's like fun, real fun. And now it's just, I don't know. It's just sad. Now we have one McDonald's close to me that's going to be redone, and it'll be the same soulless place. And by the way, all those people get fired. Been working there for like 10, 15 years, and you get fired. It's not enjoyable. And this is what's happened throughout my life. Things that I truly enjoyed growing up have been sort of taken from me. There was a famous tweet about, look at what they did to Pizza Hut. Like, you had the after-school book club or whatever where you could read and you'd get a personal pan pizza. Man, that was great. Absolutely great. But now it's just, half the Pizza Huts are tied in with Taco Bell. And it's just crazy. My childhood is gone. Let's look at the rates. The rates dropped 30 basis points today to 6.20%. That is not a good situation for volatility, in the sense like, hey, that really went down. That's gonna leave a mark. It is good for people that are looking to buy a home. I know some people that closed at rates over 7% recently. And it was uncomfortable sitting at the table. I was also talking to my mentor, and I was like, yeah, the rates are terrible. He's like, the rates are average. He's been in business since 1980. He's like, what are you complaining about? I'm like, oh, my God. He's like, 6% is good. Just seems like in my lifetime, anything over 5 has been a little dicey. So at least while I've been in the real estate game, you can correct me. You can correct me if it was before I was around. Let us go to some tweets now. We've got a full show. We got to keep going. We got to keep moving. Okay. This is the first one's from Darth Powell. Starting to see the 15 to 20% price corrections in Phoenix. The bottom is falling out. This house was listed. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot house. $524,000, down $90,000 on their asking price. That's not good. You really missed the market there. Then this guy says in the replies, Darth, that is a $300,000 house. We are nowhere near a bottom. Yeah, it's really weird. When I was showing houses this summer, people would say, well, what's that house worth? And I'd look at them and I say, I really can't tell you exactly what it's worth, because I've seen this house and it's like every day of the week this is a $180,000 house, and now it's going for $240,000. And you say, well, John, how can it be a $180,000 house and go for $240,000? Like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And I was like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I cannot believe people are paying this. And yet they were. And just so you know, like, look, did I say to people that we'd have to come in over asking on a house, and do I feel guilty about it? No, and we did. If you wanted to buy a house, you have to be over asking. And as is, no repairs. It was tough. Iman Jalali. I thought this was interesting. It says, I found out yesterday that a tenant of mine has 15 active evictions in court. Yes, she has 15 different apartments around the state that have filed evictions on her. I don't know what FML means. I'm not going to retweet this. It says, how did she pass 10 plus rental screenings and they not see those evictions on public record or credit delinquencies? That's amazing. It says sealed eviction records. And then somebody else says, how did your PM let her in? Property manager let her in. There's no way to detect it at a screening if the state has sealed eviction records and nothing has hit her credit report yet. It says, wow, litigator in Illinois for 17 years. Didn't know they sealed evictions. Seems unusual. Sealed during COVID, lifted a few months ago. So, like, I don't know if you understand what was going on. So this lady kept renting out apartments, okay? And then she would charge rent on those rentals, okay? And she would do that knowing full well that the house or the condo or the apartment would be, she would be evicted from. But she also knew that by the time they evicted her, she could make a fortune. It says, here's the deal. It says she rents as many apartments as she can, then sublets them on Facebook, collects their rent, and never pays the landlord. By the time the unit is actually physically evicted, close to a year might have already gone by, and she's already collected $10,000 or more, and times 10 the amount of apartments that she has. Crazy, isn't it? I think that's wild. This is HOZ on Twitter. It says, the year of bailouts and monetary easing have made investors complacent, and the Fed has had to work harder. The more they tighten, the closer investors think it's to a pivot. It's going to take some hard pain for these fools to throw in the towel. You know, look, today in the market, I mean, I think it rallied over 500 points on the thought that the Fed's going to have to pivot sooner than later due to a strong job number, or a weak job number, depending on how you want to look at it. Not very many full-time jobs, but 700,000 part-time jobs added. I have felt for some time that the stock market is not trading based on any sort of reality. Like, I don't think they see it coming. They should. This is from Jeff Winiger. It says, homebuyer traffic has collapsed. A 30-year mortgage at 6.48 is absolutely backbreaking for a bubble built on 3%. I would not be surprised to see something like home prices falling every single month of 2023. Showings are important. Like, if you can't get people to the house, they're not going to buy it. I'll never forget during the pandemic listing houses for sale and having the entire weekend filled with people looking to see the house. That was unheard of before the pandemic. Just crazy. Unusual Whales on Twitter. How ridiculous, with decades of high mortgages, with house affordability at near all-time lows, with rents at an all-time high, people are being implicitly told to further not own a home. It says the home ownership society was a mistake. Real estate should be treated as consumption, not investment. I disagree. I just want you to understand that I disagree with that. It could be my bias of being a real estate agent. I don't think it is. I've always thought that renting makes a lot of sense because you don't get stuck doing the maintenance. And, you know, I believe that in a way, but at the same time, well, and even on a balance sheet perspective, you know, if a personal balance sheet, you incur no debt on a lease. I mean, you're just paying month to month. So you're not on the hook for more. Whereas if you've got a house and you've got a mortgage on the house, you've got yourself into some debt. I don't think the goal, I don't think that I would say let the market decide if people want to live in single family housing or if they want to live in apartments or more multifamily, more urban areas. Let the market decide that. And I don't know what the answer will be. I personally like the suburbs, but I'm also not just enthralled with St. Louis County. I mean, some of the problems that we have are just ridiculous. So, moving on. Darth Powell, no rich person cares about your job. They only care about Fed manipulation of their asset prices. This is a negative view, obviously, and I believe him 100%. 100%. Now, I would stretch it even further that no person cares about your job. No one cares about you. I mean, if you want to argue this point, look at my YouTube following. 135 followers. Very seldom can I get more than 10 people on my live stream. You have to make people care about you. You have to do things that make people want to like you, make people want to watch you. And the same thing is true outside in the real world. If you want employees to respect you, your peers, you have to do the things that they would want you to do. You obviously don't want to make more work for them. And so on and so on. It's one of those things, I think, in the United States where we've gone really wrong is we've said, like for instance, schools know better than parents, about, education of their children. Or like, anything like that. That a government agency is more helpful to the I forgot what they call it, marginalized people than maybe a private charity. I don't see it that way, and I do think that if it were about people, like look at our salaries, look at our wages. If it were really about them, your wages would be higher. And I was one of those people who say, well, then everything else will be more expensive too. And to the point where I'm at is, yeah, I'd be happy to pay if an American worker, made more money. I'd be happy to pay for that. But what they did is they did that. They took that high margin I was willing to pay, and then shipped that job to China. And kept the high price on the product, and that is just. This is the last one. Ted C. Jones, Showing Time home showing index November 2022 % change year over year, down 30% in the U.S. As a whole, down 55% in the West, down 24% in the Midwest, down 24% in the Northeast, and down 37% in the South. I don't know what's going on in the South. I don't know if Florida is still a strong market. I could understand the West numbers being terrible because of Phoenix in particular. In the Midwest, showings are down. There's no question. I can tell you that. And if you can't show a house, if there's no one to see the house, there's no one to buy the house. It's a real problem. Moving on. Our first article is from Redfin. It says the record share of home sellers are giving concessions to buyers. I would say be careful with this, at least in your individual market. Work with an agent that has some sense of what the market is doing locally, because you can't really take a national issue like this and extrapolate it perfectly to your market. I mean, in Phoenix, for example, you'll probably get concessions. In St. Louis, it may go back on the market. People may not want to do that. So let's see. It says buyers receive concessions such as money for repairs and mortgage rate buyouts or buy downs in a record 42% of home sales in the fourth quarter, up 31% from a year earlier. Pandemic boom towns, including Phoenix and Las Vegas, saw among the biggest increases in concessions. Now, look, it's not unusual for people to ask concessions on a property as far as like if there's something that they could not have seen and they have an inspection and there's something wrong. It's not unusual for a buyer to request that be repaired. I don't typically ask for the repair to be done exactly. I typically ask for a credit, but credits are governed by the mortgage companies. Basically, there is a certain percentage where you can't go over that with a credit, and so the person has to fix it. It says home sellers gave concessions to buyers in 41% of home sales in the fourth quarter, the highest share of any 3-month period in Redfin's records, which date back to July 2020. That's not long enough. Like, that's not long enough. That's literally 2 years ago. Like, when we used to do real estate, 90% of the time you're giving concessions, in the mid 2000s. So it says, so I don't really care like on the time frame. I'm just telling you that you should expect, if you're selling, you should expect to make concessions during the home sales process at this time. It says, this is according to data submitted by Redfin buyers agents across the USA, which doesn't really help because Redfin's its own kind of group, and I don't know that they're not really the same as anybody else. A concession is recorded when an agent reports a seller provided something that helped reduce the buyer's total cost of purchasing the home. That would include money towards repairs, closing costs, and mortgage rate buydowns. It does not include situations in which sellers lowered the listing price of their homes. And so you can say to yourself cynically, well, why wouldn't you just lower the price of the home? You don't lower the price of the home because the agent doesn't make they make a commission on the total sales price. So if you lower the sale price $5,000, they're out a couple bucks. They don't like that. I hate to say that, but that's the way it is. It says concessions have made a comeback as rising mortgage rates, inflation, and economic uncertainty have dampened home buying demand, giving the buyers who remain in the market increased negotiating power. Be careful with this, though. If you really want a house and it's priced what you think is right, if you looked at the comps, you need to go ahead and put in an offer that reflects that you think that house is worth it. The worst thing you can do is go and look at a house and try and lowball somebody on a decent house. They're not going to pick you. There's 20 other people that they'll pick, even now. It says that's a stark shift from the pandemic home buying frenzy of the late 2020 and 2021, when record low mortgage rates fueled fierce competition, forcing most buyers to bid over the asking price and waive every contingency just to have their offers taken seriously. Yes, that's true. Buyers are asking sellers for things that were unheard of during the past few years. They're feeling empowered, partly because their offer is often the only one, and partly because they know the sellers have built up so much equity during the pandemic, they can afford to dole out sizable concessions. I wouldn't look at it that way, at least in St. Louis. It says, I recently helped one of my buyers negotiate a $10,000 credit for a new roof and a handful of other repairs. We originally asked for 15, but we were happy with 10 because the homeowner also agreed to sell for less than their asking price. See, that's the other thing I hate. Like, look, if we come to a price and now you want to knock $10,000 off it, that's not where I'm at. Homeowners who are increasingly selling for below their desired prices, the housing market slows. A record 22% of home sales recorded by Redfin buyers agents in the fourth quarter included both a concession and a final sales price below the listing price. So 22%, that's a record. But see, this is from 2020. So this it's not relevant. While a record 19% had both a concession and a listing price cut that occurred while the home was on the market, a record 11% included all three. Just wait. These are the places. I don't know. Like, give me 100 years of data and I'll believe you more. 2 years when the market was gangbusters is not enough data to make these claims. Second article, I wanted to go over this one. The title says, Millennial Homebuyers, What the 2023 Housing Market Looks Like for Gen Y and Gen Z. It's been a hard road for hopeful millennial homebuyers. Will 2023 be any different? I didn't sense that during this time. What I found was increasingly parents, boomers, would jump in and help these Gen Z and Gen Y buyers when they needed it. So, like, here's an example. Say you needed to come in at all cash offer. So what you would do is take your parents or some rich person's relatively bank account statement, black out all the information and use that one and say, I'm going to have help from my parents if my mortgage doesn't go through. I'm not saying it's the right thing or the wrong thing. I'm saying that's what I saw happen. I saw other people kind of fuel the fire. Like, so if the person couldn't afford it themselves, they would have somebody else behind them that would help get them over the hump. It says millennials were already having a hard time becoming homeowners, but as new data shows, 2022 also only added fuel to the fire. Now, I feel like one of the things we need to mention is kind of the idea of it seems like from a distance that I'm going to see. Sorry about that. It seems like for like cohabitation purposes, it seems like more and more people are taking on roommates. And you would say that's because of money. Like they can't afford their own places. I don't see that as much. I see it as there's a different view of cohabitation than there has been in the past. But you could also make the argument that it's like, oh no, this is because they can't afford a house. So I don't know that that's going to go into this article, but it's something that you should keep in mind. It says, according to the 2022 Profile of Home Buyers and Sellers report from the National Association of Realtors, millennials are no longer the biggest cohort of home buyers as they were in 2020 and 2021. Instead, it's 55 to 74-year-old buyers who take the crown, accounting for 44% of home purchases this year. So they would say boomers, and why do they have all this money to be able to buy these homes? Some people would say because of interest rate manipulation. I'm not. I'm just saying that's what some people would say. Young millennials who are typically first-time home buyers make up just 14% of purchases, down from nearly a quarter in 2021. So 25% down to 14%. The share of first-time home buyers dropped to the lowest level we've ever recorded. This is Jessica Laux. She's a deputy chief economist at research at National Association of Realtors. What's really striking about first-time home buyers this year is that the median age moved to 36 years old. We're now seeing a first-time home buyer who's now closer to 40 than they are to 30. It says skyrocketing home prices, housing supply shortage, and decade-high mortgage rates are largely to blame for millennials' pullback from the market, which I don't believe. I don't 100% believe that. I don't necessarily believe that a housing supply shortage is what's going on in the marketplace that's causing home prices to be ridiculous. I don't. It says, but still these young consumers are determined to buy homes. A survey from Bank of America shows that 67% of millennials, also known as Gen Y, are likely to buy a house in the next 2 years. Gen Z, which tops out at age 25, is set on it too. In fact, nearly 9 in 10 say they'd like to own a home in the future. Well, who wouldn't like to own a home in the future? It seems like a stupid question. The question is when will they be able to, and what conditions will they face if they try? Here's what industry experts say about these Gen Z and millennial home buyers can expect from the 2023 housing market and how they can succeed if they dive in. So let's look. Okay, it says the 2023 housing market. It says limited supply has plagued the housing market in recent years, and it's only part of why prices have climbed steeply. Unfortunately, most don't see this changing anytime soon. While listings have increased in recent weeks, the active inventory is down 38% compared to 2017 and 2019 levels. And with home builders pulling back and existing homeowners sitting on record low mortgage rates, a huge influx of inventory just isn't in the card for next year's millennial and Gen Z buyers. So this is if you were going to buy a house this year, what could you expect? It says for the next 5 to 7 years, it's still going to be a pretty tight inventory environment, says Lisa Sturdivant, chief economist at Bright MLS, which focuses on the mid-Atlantic region. About 75% of homeowners now have a sub 4% mortgage. And even if mortgage rates do come down, if you're sitting on a 2.5% to 3% mortgage and you don't have to move, you're not going to. And that's true. And what are you going to do to spur people to buy new homes, like new to them homes? Well, they have to feel like they were getting a value. They were getting more for their money. Well, how do you get more for your money at sub 2%? See the problem? It says, as Sturdivant mentions, falling mortgage rates could be something that further millennial home buying goals in 2023. Rates have crept down from their 2022 high of 7.08% and settled into the mid to low 6% range. With the Federal Reserve easing back on its rate hikes as of December meeting, mortgage rates could be poised to fall even more. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Says Glenn Brunker, president of mortgage lender Ally Home. Inflation should lighten up next spring, and we'll start to see interest rates dropping and homes getting more affordable. While that's good news for young homebuyers, it could also mean more competition for the already limited supply of houses. Home prices are quickly dropping due to the lower demand with the spike in rates, says John Jones, owner of John Jones Real Estate in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. However, when rates improve in the spring, which we expect they will based on inflation data, these demographics will find themselves back in the same bidding wars we've seen the past 2 years. I don't think we're ever going to see what we saw in the past 2 years in my lifetime. I'll be honest with you. It was stupid. Home buying strategies for Gen Y and Gen Z. Okay, well, let's look at some strategies. It says these challenges shouldn't dash Gen Z and millennial ownership dreams entirely, but it will require some extra creativity for those looking to buy in the new year. Here's a few strategies. Choose your location and property carefully. So, like, that didn't occur to you during the regular time? Like, it's always about that. One option is to buy further out from big cities and suburbs in smaller towns and more rural spots where home prices tend to be more affordable. According to the National Association of Realtors, 19% of buyers moved to rural areas this year, the highest share since at least 2013. What we have seen is that millennial buyers and first-time home buyers seem to be more willing to move to more affordable areas. I think that you have to be careful with the concept of a more affordable area. I mean, if the house is old and decrepit, you didn't really save anything by moving out there. You still have to put a ton of work into it. It says buying a home that needs a little work can also be helpful. They may offer a discount over more move-in ready homes, and there could be less competition for them too. Definitely in St. Louis right now, if you don't have everything updated, it's not good. You're not going to get as much as somebody that does have it all updated, but that's kind of true all the time too. As Otis Riley, owner of real estate and lending company WLM Financial in Inglewood, California, explains, best advice I could give to a millennial buyer in 2023 is to look for diamonds in the rough. Homes that have been sitting in the market for much too long. Maybe they need a little paint and new flooring. Everyone's always looking for that house. They very seldom ever kind of exist. Ask for help, because like if you've got bad flooring, you've probably got a bad bathroom, you've probably got a bad kitchen. Now we're talking about maybe $50,000 to $75,000 for a remodel. And the people do not need to lower the price by $50,000 to $75,000 on the sale price if they've got a good comp to go on anyway. Ask for help. You can ask for help with your mortgage rate if the 1 year quota is too high for your budget. Referred to as buying points or rate buy downs, these allow you, the seller, a real estate agent, or another party to pay an upfront fee, which reduces your rate permanently, or in many cases for only the first few years of your loan. According to Anthony Margulies, founder of Amalfi Estates, the 2-to-1 buy down has been a popular tool for younger folks looking to buy a house in today's higher rate environment. This is where an impound account is set up and the seller puts money aside. The buyer then gets a 2% decrease in their interest rate in the first year and 1% in the second year. It would also return the full interest rate by the third year. This is not happening where I am. We're not seeing that at all. It may, but what I've seen is from my mortgage lenders is they're like, look, John, it doesn't make any sense to buy down points right now. The discount isn't enough to make it worthwhile. That's what they tell me. It says getting help in other areas of the deal is common too. Over 20% of first-time homebuyers last year used money from friends or family for their down payment. Another nearly 40% co-purchased their home, splitting the cost with a parent, friend, or sibling. That's kind of what I was talking about, how there's this different type of homeowner, different type of home buyer, and different type of way of life for these younger people that I don't believe is 100% related to not being able to buy a house. It could be, but I don't think it is. Finally, don't rush into it. Take time to improve your credit score, which in turn can reduce your mortgage rate, and research lenders before jumping in. Go check out different lenders and see what kind of rates and terms you get. There's a lot of variability in rates right now. Very hard to shop rates when you don't have a house under contract. Okay? Like, because I can say, oh yeah, we can get you in at 5.5%. And then when you actually come in to do, with an offer, an accepted offer, it's, oh yeah, the market's at 7. It's changed. So if you've made a decision based on a rate, 3 months ago between 3 different companies, none of them being serious, it kind of makes you wonder. It says, If you don't have the funds to afford a house in 2023's market, you can also consider moving in with a friend or family member to save on rent temporarily. That's what 27% of first-time homebuyers did last year. If you're willing to make those types of financial sacrifices or housing sacrifices, you may be just able to achieve home ownership easier than your peers. But you're living with your peers. I don't know. I don't agree with the premise of the article, I think. I don't agree with the premise that house prices are too high for Gen Z and millennials, as much as I think that there's different living practices, different household formations. I do think houses are tremendously expensive. Don't get me wrong, but that's not just the generation Y and Z. I'm saying everyone. House prices are too expensive. Last article of the night. Just checking on some things. It says more home buyers and sellers are suing real estate agents, claiming they were misled about the value of their homes. What? Are you kidding me? You're telling me that you as a buyer feel like you were misled, or as a seller misled about the value of your home? And so you're suing your real estate agent? What about comps? Did the comps not indicate the price of the home? What about an appraisal? Did you not get an appraisal for a mortgage? What's going on here? What's going on here? It says lawsuits against real estate professionals increased 9% between 2021 and 2022 as home prices declined. Most lawsuits aim to trigger reimbursements under professional liability insurance policies. That may be a strategy that has nothing to do with the house prices and everything to do with, class action lawsuits designed to enrich attorneys who bring the suits. Zach Vollmer, an SVP, I don't know what that means, at Victor Insurance Managers, which I don't understand how that has anything to do with real estate agents, expects that number to increase in 2023. Is Frank? Maybe they provide small business insurance, and therefore they know about the lawsuits. As Frank Sinatra once crooned, regrets I've had a few. Now that home prices are starting to decline across the U.S. because of a souring economy, a growing number of recent buyers and sellers are feeling more than regret after exchanging keys and leaving the closing table. Okay. Let's go over this. It says, in the past year, there's been a steady rise in lawsuits being filed against agents, brokers, and other real estate professionals as both home buyers and sellers try to recoup their lost home value. Zach Vollmer, the senior vice president of real estate at Victor Insurance Managers, a global underwriting firm, told insiders. Vollmer said that the number of lawsuits filed between 2021 and 2022 increased by 9%. Although Vollmer declined to provide specific figures, citing proprietary information, these cyclical increases are driven by the unhappy consumer, who is more likely to file a suit after having had a negative emotional experience during a real estate transaction. I'll tell you what, how did you not have a negative emotional experience during a real estate transaction in 2022? Fulmer added that lawsuits targeting real estate professionals are common when home prices fall. Oftentimes they are filed by sellers who waited too long to list their home, or buyers who might have overlooked a minor issue during an inspection process and now live in a home with a value below what they paid. Very interesting. So let's go over this. So, filed by sellers who waited too long to list their home. I don't know what that means. Like, you list your house now and not in June of 2022 and it's somehow the real estate agent's fault. Or buyers who have overlooked a minor issue during the inspection process and now live in a home with a value below what they paid. So waiving your inspection rights or rights to inspection to get a property, and now you're going to sue the agent because you decided to do that? Okay. It says the increased frequency of lawsuits coincides with a slew of predictions from real estate experts who expect home prices to continue to decrease in 2023. For instance, Lawrence Yoon told Insider in December that half the country could see home price declines of nearly 10%. Analysts at Moody's were more optimistic and said home prices could fall between 3 and 8% by the end of the year. In most cases, Vollmer said the lawsuits contain allegations that seek to trigger reimbursements under a real estate professional's liability insurance policy. Some of those claims include non-disclosure, meaning an agent or broker withheld material information from their client. I don't know. I mean, I would not do that intentionally. I don't know what someone else would do. or negligence and misrepresentation during the transaction. I don't know. I mean, I understand what would happen, but like if you had say you had somebody on the seller side misrepresent the seller, if you had a pretty decent buyer's agent, you could probably kind of smell that something wasn't right. But I have a hard time understanding how a buyer would fall in that situation. It says what makes this situation different is that inflation, supply chain disruptions, and rising material costs have all contributed to the increase in the average paid claim of $39,000 in 2022, representing a 13% year-over-year climb. Looking ahead to 2023, Vollmer expects the number of lawsuits filed to increase, although it's impossible to project exactly how many will be filed by year's end. He doesn't expect many lawsuits to be filed by borrowers who find themselves underwater, meaning their home value is less than what they paid for it because of new laws implemented in the wake of the 2007 recession. An analysis of mortgage data by Black Knight found that more than 270,000 borrowers were underwater on their mortgage as of December 2022, representing about 8% of all home buyers. However, Vollmer added that lawsuits concerning wrongful evictions, property preservation, and short sale transactions when a large number of homes face foreclosure could cause that number to rise. The dynamics of a down market are unique but consistent drivers of populace unhappy with the state of the housing market. So to me, this isn't really like, it's not really a big deal to me. It's not the way I see it. The way the article made it sound, the way the headline made it sound is like, oh, people are getting sued because they lost the value of their home and it's the real estate agent's fault. This is more like, oh, you didn't let us do an inspection. This is a typical lawsuit. Like you would be sued for this under any time, not just now. So what did you think about today's show? Put it in the comments. Can't put it in the chat because I'm going to leave. Anyway, I wanted to say thank you for watching tonight. Thank you for listening if you're listening to the podcast version. And I should be on tomorrow. I don't know that I'll be on late. I have one showing, one listing appointment in the afternoon. And so my day is pretty much going to revolve around that. So anyway, thank you for watching. I hope to see you tomorrow. It'll be in YouTube. You'll be able to see when there's a stream scheduled. And thank you. Good night.